I'm doing a series of sermons now from a quote that says, there can be no genuine hope until you start with the truth. You must say what has happened. Chicago has the largest lifespan disparity in the country. They did the study looking at Streeterville and then looking at Inglewood. And the average lifespan in Streeterville was 90. In Inglewood, it was 60.
What does that mean? That means you don't have what you need over here to live those extra 30 years.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of research that shows that someone's zip code can be more important than their genetic code.
Zip codes matter in Chicago. If you do not live in the right zip code, you don't have access to a lot of things that you need for survival, and that's just a fact here.
We've got a food desert here in this community. We also have a health care desert.
And that shouldn't be the case. Whether you live in the Gold Coast or the South Side, you should be able to get the same access to care.
I can predict in a child born today, based on their zip code, their quality and their longevity. That's terrible. That's terrible. You mean where I'm born, where I live, will determine my quality of health? Yes, 90, 60. In Bronzeville, I think it's something like 72, and the average in Chicago is like 85. But those are huge gaps. Bronzeville is not a monolithic community in some respects. The people here are pretty diverse, and so it's a very lively community, but also has some major endemic problems that have not really been addressed. If there are already a fragile society to begin with, anything in addition is going to be telescoped and magnified, right? And so I think the same applies to things like cancer. You know, cancer just happens to be the most devastating diagnosis we can ever get.
For most cancers, almost all cancers, African Americans have higher rates of mortality compared to other groups.
These discrepancies in cancer rates among African Americans or people in these neighborhoods is because they have gotten diagnosed late stage. Well, if they were aware earlier on and had access to good medicine, you reduce those numbers. So for us, that's really critical, and what you guys are doing in the American Cancer Society is important, to talk about it in the culture that you're in.
ACS has always given researchers like me that conduct cancer disparities research and health disparities research a place where we can not just address the immediate cancer disparity, but also address those social determinants that can impact that patient's cancer outcomes.
Some of the societal factors, environmental factors that Black and brown people live with, that is the difference between survival and non-survival.
The stress that you can be under just by being Black in America is also one of those determinants of health that we don't often talk about. Many times we use terms like social determinants of health, and sometimes what we really need to say is racism.
In the environment that we live in and the food deserts that we live in, the lack of health care routine, that you don't have a medical home, those things start making the difference.
Let's say I have a kid with a certain disease and he needs 3 appointments. I tell my nurses, see if you can have those appointments all on the same day. Well, they gotta go to GI and they gotta go to, well, but wait a minute, that mother is a working mother. She can't take off 3 days in a month. Then you say she's not being compliant when she doesn't. But if she takes off 3 days, she loses her job. You see, these are decisions that some people never have to make. All of the social and economic dynamics are all in play when you talk about diseases.
The American Cancer Society has always been a strong partner for us to do health equity research. This is not new for ACS, nor is it a new space that they're entering into.
When I found out I had it, a sudden fear came over me because my father had died of prostate cancer. But sharing the story is absolutely necessary because men have to know that it's not an end. I was never ashamed to let everybody know what was going on, because if you don't talk about it, you won't avoid it. You walk right into it. And I think that I've made an impact on some because of my openness.
Everybody's story is different. So if I can encourage somebody to go to the doctor and take care of yourself, then chalk one up for the team.
It's important that we get screened and be aware that things are preventable or we can be treated early. I think it all boils down to access and what we have available.
I was asked to do the speech for King Day at a portion of Northwestern, and when I read his last two speeches, I was in tears. Because if he came back now, he'd be saying the same thing, and it'd be relevant. He got killed in 1968. Have we made improvement? Yeah, but you have to be careful. It's like me giving you Tylenol for your fever. It'll go down for a while, but I have not treated the source. It's going to come back.
I think that fighting for it, a cancer-free society, is a just and noble cause. But will we ever attain it? I don't know, but we've got to keep working on it. We've got to keep trying.
We have a lot of work to do in our communities.
I have 7 grandchildren. I don't want them fighting these battles. I don't want my grandkids, fighting these battles. If we all would do what we can do, we can change these things. I know they're tough problems, but we can change them.
What better looks like to me is that we won't have statistics where we say that African American men are almost 2 times more likely to die from prostate cancer compared to white men. Better looks like the fact that no matter where you live, you'll have access to evidence-based and cutting-edge screening and care. Better for me is when you can get care despite your zip code. I am reminded that we still have a long way to go, but we have made several advances that makes me think that better is on the horizon.